Your content has probably been trained on by somebody.
Oh, it's definitely been trained.
Are you okay with that?
The short answer is it doesn't fucking matter.
You don't care?
It's not that I don't care.
Do you care?
My feelings don't matter.
Yeah.
Like, this is just, it's just happening. It's going to be fucking good. And if you think that because you made your video by hand, it's going to beat out 1 million videos that are just as good, but were made by AI.
If you had unlimited money, unlimited time, no distractions, what would you be working on right now? I'm Michael Mignano from Lightspeed, and this is Out of Office. Today on the show, I'm hanging out with my friend and possibly the most influential YouTuber of all time, Casey Neistat. Years ago, Casey launched a podcast on Anchor, the company I had previously co-founded. My team and I helped him get his podcast up and running, and we even helped him build a physical set for the show. In the years since, Casey and I have spent many hours talking about technology, creativity, and more recently, artificial intelligence. And that's exactly what we're doing on today's episode. Away from the studio, away from Zoom, and set to the backdrop of Casey's hometown, New York City. Enjoy. Yo, come down. Yo. What's up, Casey? Hey, Casey. All right, I'm doing Casey, come down. Brother, what is up?
It's good to see you.
You too. Thanks for doing this.
So happy to be here.
Listen, this is the first time I'm doing this, just so you know. So really? I may totally screw this up. Well, I have a show. I do it in a studio, but this is the first time I've done like a New York City as the canvas kind of episode. Like, you pioneered that. New York, I feel like, is a central character in all your videos.
Yeah, I would say like New York City is my muse.
Okay.
I think we're gonna go this way. Good to see you. I think this city, like, I always knew that, like, so much of my videos are about this city, but it didn't really come into focus till I left the city.
Right.
Like, we lived in LA for a year.
LA.
And
you did a few videos in LA, right?
Yeah, they all sucked. Right. They like took away the heart of what, you know, what I feel like was like the driving DNA that flowed through all of my, like, look at this place, man. Yeah. There's just interestingness everywhere you look. You know, when I was a kid, I like never found my footing. I moved to New York and I felt like, oh, I can do that thing that I wanted to do. Like, that everyone said was impossible. That can be realized. Right. But it could probably only happen here. Marlon! Marlon! But yeah, like, you know, my favorite movie, I think maybe it's my favorite movie, but Tom Hanks' Big.
Yeah, of course.
The story of the movie Big is he was a little kid who magically became big, became an adult, and he moved to New York City. And by maintaining his, like, childlike attitude, because he was a kid, he thrived here. Yeah. He thrived in New York. And he had this big apartment that he turned into his big playground. And for me, it was like, I looked at that movie the way one might look at a documentary. I was like, this, that's real. And then that's exactly what my life is right now. I'm like a grown-ass child that lives in this playground of a city. And I spend all my time in my office, which is just basically like an indoor playground. I don't know that anywhere else that could be possible.
Besides your own stuff, what are some of your favorite things filmed in New York? Movies, like, what else do you like set here?
I mean, I love like the 70s stuff, like the pulpy cop movies shot here, mid-90s New York City. Before this, they had to like make the city look beautiful. And it was just like a really raw, where every single one of those movies from that whole generation, even the rom-coms, like If Lucy Fell, which is an amazing Sarah Jessica Parker movie from like 96 or something. They all start with these, what would now be a drone shot, but just these helicopter shots that, how you doing, that just show the city. I think there's just a degree of fuckery from a film perspective that you get away with back then that is no longer the case. And I think, like, technically now you can just make anything look perfect. Right. And then practically now, like, you have to shut down streets in the way you didn't have to back then. Yeah. So like there's a level of verite they were able to achieve with that genre, but I think is like largely absent now, with the exception of like every movie that Josh and Ben Safdie make in New York City, which still captures that. Should we go to that?
Yeah, let's do it. So New York City is your muse. I want to talk about tools, because maybe just to spoil the punchline here, I want to get to AI. Okay. But before we get there, I want to take a step back and talk about you as a filmmaker and kind of how your toolkit has evolved. I'm guessing it started as a camcorder.
The journey's been sort of interesting because I attribute like my entree, my like, the only reason I was able to get into filmmaking is because you know, I turned like 17 or whatever when the iMac DV came out, the first consumer marketed machine for editing video.
This is the bubble? The bubble? Yeah.
For like $1,500, you could get a video camera. 10 years earlier, that was not the case. That did not exist. And if that technology didn't exist, I would have never found filmmaking. And so it was gear that enabled my filmmaking career. And then I kind of like got to a place on YouTube when gear became like excellent. Like it passed this point of diminishing return. Like for the, you know, the lowest end of the market, $700-800 digital SLR versus the fanciest one on YouTube, unless you have a really discerning eye, they both looked fantastic.
When was that? Like what year?
Maybe 2015, 2007 is when that like thing happened. And what happened immediately thereafter, which I wasn't into, is that like the gear became the message. Like people would love to obsess over the gear and talk about the gear. And I understand that, the propensity towards that, because it is such a fun part of the process. But it made me push back on YouTube, because it was like, no, like it's what you do with the gear that matters. And I sort of went then from a place of being like a guy who was the gear guy to almost pushing back against it and being like, it's what you can do with the equipment. And it's why now very much so, like I have one camera and I don't fetishize the gear, but I go out of my way to make sure that I don't leverage technology unless I absolutely have to. But literally, like I just made a video about AI.
Sure, yeah, saw it.
And there's a million ways I could have animated that, visualized that. But I like made sure that I just filmed it with like my hands and markers in paper. And even the shot's a little wide and fucked up so you can see the context. Because it's important, like I know when I'm watching stuff, I want to see the humanity in it. I want to know there's a human behind those decisions. So I think it's analogous to the gear conversation where, you know, like the more perfect something is, the harder it is to believe what you're seeing. The more raw it is, the more real it feels. And I think that emotional connection that people have with the aesthetic of what they're seeing is something that's often dismissed. And the better the gear gets, the easier it is to promote that, to further that.
But it's not just the camera, right? Like I feel like your toolkit, at least as a viewer, has evolved. You know, drone is a tool now. You know, in the video you just did, the paper and the pen and the ruler, like those are tools. I mean, how do you figure out, I would argue the boosted board is a tool for your filmmaking. Are you looking for things to incorporate into the films, or?
No, I think it's like, I have an idea, I have a narrative of a story or a concept, something that I want to sounds like a freight train. I have something I want to communicate. And then I just look to like what resources I have to communicate that. So, you know, like if there's motion in it, like I literally need to get from point A to point B, the boosted board is really fun. Yeah. And I don't even acknowledge that in the video, but it just shows me navigating this big city, and that in itself is a narrative device. Animations are a narrative device. Like how I manipulate the camera is a narrative device. And that's something I'm hyper aware of, because, you know, it's even one person with the camera, I can make it look like whatever I want it to look like. Yeah. I can make it look like a polished movie. I can make it look like something that was shitty and shot on my phone. And all of those are devices that help promote your ability to tell the story.
So it's more about, hey, I want to tell a certain story. What are the tools I can use to help shape that narrative? Less like, oh, this drone would be fun to use in an upcoming video, or this boosted board would be fun to use in an upcoming video.
Yeah, or just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Yeah, exactly.
And I subscribe to that. And it's like, I don't know, I made so many movies about my family and my relationship with my wife, my relationship with my big brother who's a filmmaker himself. And there's a lot of that content on YouTube. And I watched a video recently, I'm not sure who made it, on YouTube. And it was, you know, a YouTuber making a movie about his family. And it was shot so perfectly. Every shot was stabilized. Every shot was color. And I watched it and I was like, I don't fucking believe this. Like, I don't believe that when your wife gave you that hug, that she didn't know that you had a huge camera set up with a 70mm lens with a perfect phone. Like, I don't believe that. Like, there was a disingenuousness to it. And so for me, like, that's, like, I love the phone. Yeah. Because
it adds to the authenticity.
Everyone is familiar with the aesthetic of cell phone video, of iPhone video. Yeah. And what iPhone video means is you pull your phone out of your pocket, you press record, and you captured what you're seeing, and that, like, we have a relationship with that. So I'm like, when I capture what are casual interactions, I go out of my way to do it on my phone because the aesthetic of that image, the phone image, it intimates this, the casualness of the actual interaction.
How did the phone impact your work?
Only later did it have a meaningful impact. Like when I was really into YouTube, making a video a day, I almost never filmed on the phone.
Yeah. Well, they weren't that good then. I mean, it was okay, but...
Now it's at a point where, you know, I almost never carry a camera unless it's intentional.
Yeah.
And I rely on the phone a lot. Like I love cell phone cinematography.
For your YouTube videos?
Oh yeah, for
okay.
everything.
Okay.
I love
Interesting.
it. But I only use it when I want it to feel like it's a...
Right.
I never try to pass off phone footage as like, you know, prestige.
Right. It's not like that Apple commercial where they show you they made the whole commercial with the phone and like a stabilizer. It's like,
and there's a lot of great companies that
silly.
make all these attachments for your phone, and I think it's fucking great.
Yeah.
I think it's fantastic. But if I'm gonna attach something to my phone that's this big, I'm just gonna carry a camera that's this big.
Yeah.
So for me, it like violates what the phone is for.
Yep.
The phone is for when it's for the absence of having a camera, and that's like that's a meaningful role in my, you know, tool shed of filmmaking tools.
Is AI a tool yet for you?
For me, not really.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's super meaningful, and I think it's going to overwhelm everything very, very soon. But, you know, I've always been like this story guy. Like my show on HBO, Dan and my brother and I filmed 90% of that show on like $199 point and shoots we got at Walmart.
Oh, wow.
And we you know, we wanted that to be the case because it breaks this wall of intimacy for the viewer, where it's clear, it's Jackass back in the day. It was shot on handy cams. It just felt like a group of friends hanging out, which is what it was. So, you know, I love that. And I love like the human aspect of filmmaking, especially on YouTube. It's always just me. I don't have a film crew. I never have a team. So any way I can promote that using hardware that helps intimate that, I will. And I feel like AI is the antithesis of that.
I think you did use AI on a video maybe a year or two ago, right? And you showed how bad it was and how inauthentic it was.
Yeah, that was when...
To point it out, I think.
That was when ChatGPT had first launched like a public product.
Yeah.
And I just gave it a singular prompt, which was write me a Casey Neistat YouTube video.
But you generated videos too, right?
No.
Okay, you did.
That had no computer generated footage in it at all. Just the script. Okay. And recently I just made a movie about AI where I just used prompts off of Sora. And I incorporated that footage in.
We're gonna get into that. Yeah, there's a lot that I think came from that, in terms of what you generated.
But again, like even in that video, the AI generated footage was there to show AI generated footage.
Right. You were saying this is crazy. Here's me as a reality show host or whatever. Yeah. But do you feel like the quality is getting good enough that you can imagine it'll be so good that it will be a tool for you, at some point? Or
no. I mean, the answer objectively is yes. Like it'll be a tool that's good enough for everyone to use. What turns me on about making videos is the holistic part of it. Right. This is why I made a decision in early 2010s to no longer like pursue feature films, to no longer, pursue television or any of those places that I dabbled in, had success in early in my career, and just do YouTube. Because my favorite style of filmmaking is when I own the whole process. I shoot it, I write it, I edit it, I'm in it. For me, it's like when I think of a painter, I imagine somebody with a beret in a room, and she's the only one in there painting the painting herself. Jeff Koons has like 60 employees making his art. They're both great.
You want to be the beret.
That's what excites me. And the fact that you can do that in filmmaking is novel of 25 years ago. It couldn't have happened prior. But that's what I love. For me, AI filmmaking is antithetical to that in every capacity.
AI for you is Jeff Koons' factory cranking out.
No, that would be an insult to Jeff Koons. I think AI is like, a 100x evolution of something like that. Yeah.
Right. It's not for you. Clearly, you want to be the guy with the beret. But are you okay with others using it as a tool?
Irrelevant. Okay. Because it's going to happen. Yeah. It's not maybe going to happen. Yeah. It's not subtly going to happen. It's going to, I was trying to think of an analogy, is like, I'm a defected conquistador in the 1500s. I defect to the Aztecs, and I'm like, you don't understand. Like, your weapons that are made out of rocks and blunt instruments and sharpened obsidian, you cannot imagine what's coming. They're bringing guns and cannons and swords.
Yeah.
But you're speaking to a civilization that for all of eternity has only understood blunt instruments. The entire media world right now has only understood blunt instruments. And then they look at what's coming. They look at the defected conquistador, and I just have a single gun that doesn't shoot anymore. And they're like, why would that be a threat to us? That's where we are right now.
Yeah.
It's filmmakers looking at shitty Sora videos, looking at shitty AI clips, being like, how is that going to be a threat to us? But like, fuck right now. Like, use your imagination, see where this is going. And it is not like a ripple in the process. It is a tidal wave that's going to consume everything. And I think, kind of a sweet Trump.
Yeah.
You're
okay.
interrupting. And there's no holding back the tidal wave. Like I like anybody who's like, well, YouTube shouldn't allow it, or there should be a thing where you click no AI and you don't see AI. It's like what you're talking about is you're talking about handing a tablespoon to somebody on the deck of the Titanic saying, bail us out. Like the only way is figure out what a boat looks like in this reference. Like figure out how you can work within this system because the tidal wave is happening. Elon Musk tweeted yesterday that Grok they shipped a new video AI. It's as good as everybody else's, but he said by the end of next year, we'll be able to make a feature film with Grok. And by the end of 2027, we'll be able to make great feature films. I think that timeline is correct. And it's going to go like this. It's going to be shit across the board. And then there's going to be one. And it's going to be something ironic or unexpected.
One film.
Yeah, there's going to be one. It's going to be ironic or unexpected. It's going to be like what Gangnam Style was to music, which is like, you don't care where it came from. It's just so audaciously good and different that you fucking love it. And everybody's going to say, well, that is actually a good AI movie. And then like a week later, there's going to be another good one. And then a month later, there's going to be 10. And the end of that year, there's going to be 100. And the end of the next year, there's going to be 1 million. And then that's it.
This is starting to happen right now with music. I don't know if you've been paying attention to Suno.
It is. Is that what you're saying?
It's happening right now. Yeah. You know, these companies, Suno's the leading one. Should disclose I'm an investor in it. But they've been the leading one. And I would say a year or two ago, it was kind of exactly what you're saying. You're like, this is not good enough. Like, this is not really going to get there. And then right now, I would say over the past month, 2 months, there's been like an artist reach the top of the charts on Spotify.
Really?
Then there's an artist that just got an AI artist that just got a $3 million record contract. And then there's another one that goes trending.
So how does that work? Like if you make the prompts,
I don't know the specifics of that deal or who the artist is, but it's starting to tip is my point. Like you're starting to see the one film that you're talking about in music. I agree. I see it happening in film as well.
And I hate to sound so cynical, but I just see myself as a realist in this with this perspective. It's like the idea that it's like, I don't care how good it gets. I only want stuff that I know is made by people. Give me a slider and I'll click that. Like that is, again, that's another teaspoon on the deck of the Titanic. Cause like good is good. We live in attention is all that matters. And what people want is what makes it good. If that wasn't the case, then, like I think in the history of the Academy Awards, there's been 1 or 2 times when the best picture was also the biggest box office winner. Yeah. Like, no, like if someone cares, if it's interesting, it's going to win. Because the 99% of the world that watches, that consumes, that is the consumer for media, good is all that matters.
Yeah.
And like it's going to be fucking good. And if you think that because you made your video by hand, it's going to beat out 1 million videos that are just as good, but were made by AI, like I've got a bridge to sell you.
Well, I also think nobody's incentivized to just show you the human-made stuff, right? Like you said, attention is all these companies want. YouTube just wants you to watch. They don't care if you're watching handcrafted film versus AI slot. They just want you to watch.
I would not stop with YouTube.
Yeah,
Netflix just like the product is attention. The product is not the art.
Yeah.
That was maybe the case at some perfect moment in time, maybe the 1970s. It is the attention is the product.
I do think there will be a vinyl of media, right? Like, oh, I enjoy watching handmade films on 16 millimeter film.
For sure.
It'll be small, But somebody will pay for that.
I mean, vinyl is having an extraordinary renaissance, literally right now.
Yeah.
MP3s are the #1 most consumed format for music. #2 is vinyl.
Yeah.
But vinyl still, I think, makes up less than 1%.
Yeah, it's a fraction.
So I think I've got enough of a canon of work that people will stay interested in my work. I know no matter how good AI gets, I'm still going to care about Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah.
But good fucking luck to the world.
I thought it was interesting that one of the core aspects of the one battle after another marketing is all the different formats they're showing it in. Like when you go to the website, the main thing is here are the 6 formats, right? That almost feels like a sign of where we're headed.
Yeah, perhaps. I mean, I think that movie theaters, Seth Rogen, who I think is an absolute genius. I think he's one of the greatest, not just filmmakers or actors, but he does it all. Like the studio is one of the greatest triumphs in the history of television. Like I fucking love Seth Rogen.
It's the new curve in my mind.
But I tweeted when COVID hit that because you couldn't go to the movie theater.
Yeah.
That I was sad that like my kids will never experience movie theaters like I did or we did as children, where it's this big event. And he tweeted back, he's like, no, it'll go back. It'll be just like it was. And I was like, I hope to God he's right. But I think that he's wrong.
Yeah.
And I think that time has proven out that like box office receipts show that that's just not the case anymore. And I think that what's interesting now is when you do have big, great movies, that they give you reasons. Like an IMAX experience is radically different.
Right.
Or like layback seats have completely changed my relationship with the movie theater. But going to the movies is no longer sort of the only way to see whatever the latest and greatest movie is. You have to give the viewer something more. It has to be in IMAX. It has to be a big spectacle.
I went to see one battle after another, and I had all these choices of where to see it. And I did want to see it in 70 millimeter or whatever it is, but I picked the Alamo Drafthouse because I wanted to be served dinner while I was watching.
Did they shoot that on film?
Yeah.
They did?
Yeah, and they shot it on VistaVision. You know what that is? It's like this old format from like the 70s where they flip the... Basically, they film... I think this is the way it works. You're the filmmaker. I think they film it like sideways to take up the whole frame on the film or something.
Interesting. So Drafthouse projected it on cellular?
70 millimeter.
Oh, that's cool. That's so cool.
It was awesome. They brought me a cheeseburger and a beer, and
that
was part of the reason I wanted to go there.
It's a great experience.
I needed another reason.
Give me more.
Yeah, exactly.
Because everybody has a 60-inch TV at home that's 4K, and it's tough to compete with that.
So AI, I liked this this other analogy you had in your video about the funnel.
Yeah.
Right? The funnel just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and all the things that you need to overcome to get your film or your video out there, it goes away, right? The distribution. When you have this much content, and if you fast forward, like how does something come out the other end of that funnel?
Yeah, I mean, the analogy in the video that I made was that like the top of the funnel is the total amount of content being made, and the bottom of the funnel was the amount of good content being made. And I think about when like we were kids, there was just only so many kids shows to watch, and that's what we had a relationship with. And there were only so many movies that came out in theaters. So that's what we had a really strong relationship with. And now there's such a ubiquity of content out there. Like what's good for my daughter is whatever nonsense she finds on Netflix or wherever, she's not allowed to watch YouTube, but whatever she finds on YouTube. So the bottom of the funnel has changed radically because the amount being made is just so big that it's no longer sort of reduced to this singular thing where we all get to sit around and talk about how great Tom Hanks's Big was. But instead, everybody's getting into something else. And the question that I posed in that video was like, what happens when, the top of the funnel is the size of the Grand Canyon? Yeah. And the bottom of the funnel is 100x what's being created right now. Like, what role does good content mean into society when there's just such an abundance of it?
Do we end up with a lot more good content, or does it become harder to find good content because you're just overwhelmed by the junk?
Yeah. Or is it like just stops mattering?
Yeah.
Because whatever holds people's attention. Coco Melon is not good content, but it's like the most watched show on YouTube or on Netflix rather, because that's what children want to stare at.
Right.
So it invalidates the qualitative nature of it, and it's just what kids want to watch, and therefore that's what's being seen.
Yeah. Do you, as a filmmaker, as a person who's done it with the manual tools without AI for many years, like, do you like that more people are able to create? Or are you like, yeah, you go create out there with AI, or are you like, hey, get off my lawn, go get a camcorder, like I did when I was a kid?
I love it. Like, I think that like so much of the work that I've done on YouTube is about celebrating the fact that like anybody, but what this is a nuclear bomb that eviscerates everything.
Right.
And what's left in its ashes, I think, is impossible to predict.
But do you like that someone can prompt to make a video? Are you like, that is creativity, that is being creative, or is it something else completely?
I think you have to ask me that like in 2 years.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yo, bro, did you see that new AI film? Or I'll just say, did you see that new? Probably won't have to call it.
I don't even know what it's going to be.
All, yeah.
I mean, Sora, and I imagine we're going to see this on TikTok and Reels. I mean, these aren't really videos in the way that you make videos. These are, so they're not even really like TikTok videos, right? There's something else.
There's a scene that I cut from my video about Sora. It didn't work with the narrative, but I put TikTok on one phone and I put Sora on the other phone, and I flipped through them in unison. The content's almost indiscernible.
You think it's the same?
Yeah, clearly Sora was trained on TikTok.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, it's the same. And like the fact that Sora is all AI created, like you can see that now, but I also made the video 2 days after it launched.
Yeah.
So no, I don't think that one is necessarily, I don't think just because these are made by humans and this is made by AI is going to mean that's definitely going to have a different role in the world than this is.
Right. I want to dive into this topic. I want to talk about attention. I mean, you talked about CoComelon. We talked about, you know, so much content now. And obviously these algorithms are going to be able to hold our attention even stronger than they already can. It's a big topic. I need some food in me. Let's go eat some Chinese food. What do we eat here? You don't look at the menu, he said.
Do you eat pork?
What's that?
Do you eat pork?
I eat everything.
Okay, me too.
Anything you put on this table, I will eat.
Okay. Okay. All right, good.
So one of the things we didn't get into when we were sitting on the pit stoop is the business of video and the business of YouTube, right? Like we're coming out of this world where it's all about attention, right? And that attention gets monetized via ads, via eyeballs. The whole goal, the whole game is to get as many views as possible, get brands, get AdSense, whatever, make a lot of money. But Sora did something really interesting, which is they're letting you invoke people in videos, right? Like I can add Casey Neistat to my video.
You can't because I have it blocked.
Sure.
Not you.
Sure.
But I guess.
Yeah. You can invoke people.
For sure.
And I don't know if you saw this blog post that Sam Altman put out a few days after the Sora launch, where he was like, hey, we're going to be testing a lot of things. We're going to be working really hard. We're going to be shipping fast. And we're going to be compensating people. I don't know if he's used those words exactly, but he's basically saying like, we're going to pay people. And what I read and what I see in that is they're going to compensate for name and likeness. And they want to run ahead and build the market and build the economics of how people get compensated in this new structure. And so I guess my question to you is like, how does this play out when the funnel's that big? How do people get paid? Is it going to be ads, or is it going to be actually who's the most unique?
You know, I have no idea. I don't. And I think what's interesting is like, you know, YouTube was a pioneer in AdSense. Like they're really early in doing that and in the space. And you saw TikTok and Instagram sort of struggle to figure out where they fit in and how they're going to monetize and how they're going to compensate creators on their platform. But when it comes to AI, it gets very, very murky, because even though the payment structures have been, you know, at times ambiguous, like when TikTok did like the creator fund, which is like, we have this amount of money, we're going to sort of give it to some people. Checks. You know, it all relied on like whoever makes the content that gets the most views, like that's the transaction. And when it comes to AI, like when it comes to Sora specifically, because there's no friction between you and creating.
You said tea and tea.
Yeah, we'll take tea. We'll take tea.
Please.
Because there's no friction between the creation process, if whoever makes the most content gets the most compensated, then it will just be who can type the fastest.
I don't think that's it.
That's not it.
Yeah.
So if it's about whose likeness gets used the most, I mean, maybe that's a start.
Yeah.
But I don't know what the long is. Like, I don't have an answer for that question. None of it makes sense.
I think it's got to be something like that. You know, if you like ascribe to this notion that AI is going to be the most value generating machine ever. Well, how does the AI get better? It gets better by feeding
I think
it,
the fault,
feeding it with
the
stuff.
fault in this thinking is that you and I are trying to make sense of how that world is going to be monetized based on what we understand of the world that we live in being monetized. And I think that's a fallacy from the onset. Like,
it's like your analogy from earlier, the weapons.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, we're thinking about sticks and rocks.
Like the advice I give to people, like, I want to succeed on YouTube, it's always like, you know, find your voice, figure out what you want to do, all that. But like, it's persistence and consistency. You have to constantly put out stuff, and you have to persist, even when it feels like nobody's watching.
Yeah.
And eventually you will find an audience. Okay, that's hard. But in the AI version of persisting is just more prompts. Like there's no, it's not analogous in any way. Like I don't see a parallel there. So it's very hard to take what you or I might know about how the industry works today and then apply it to this new thing.
I mean, that's definitely happening in venture in my world. You know, venture, I'm still fairly new to it. I'm like 3 years in, but the whole thing with venture is pattern matching to the past, right? And what's happening now with AI, you can't predict anything. And things are moving way too fast that you can't apply any of the lessons from the past to the future. It's just like, what has the most momentum, right?
That's what I struggle with when I see decks for AI. Like, my question is always like, how is this defendable? Because like yesterday at OpenAI's announcement, it's like they just invalidated, you know, dozens of startups.
But even if they gave you a perfect answer, it still wouldn't matter.
Kind of. You know? I mean, there's still going to be a lot of winners. Yeah, I don't understand that space well enough to make a real distinction. But like, I think that's really challenging. Yeah. Like, I can speak with some understanding of the media landscape. When you go to the technology landscape, the software landscape, it gets much murkier for me.
Yeah. As a creator, somebody who has made a bunch of stuff, and like we talked about in the Stoop, hopefully this is stuff that it's really high quality, stands the test of time. I got to ask, are you okay with all of the stuff that's coming out of Sora and all these things? Like, your work is probably somewhat in there.
Maybe I had this conversation with my little brother when I showed him how to use the app. He's like, there's no way I'm putting my face in that thing. And I was like, my guy,
his face is already in it.
Your face is on Instagram. Like, your face exists out there in the world. And whether this is your consent or not, you're in it.
Yeah.
So like, does it make me uncomfortable? Like when I see Jake Paul, who lets everybody use his face, and it's like being misused in all these ways, I'm like, ugh. But he's probably right.
But what do you think about all these disagreements, these lawsuits where media companies, publishers are saying, hey, you didn't have the right to train on our copyrighted content?
I empathize with them. Like, I think that they're right. So if they regulate that in OpenAI and XAI, they're not allowed to use copyright. You know, there's going to be some other AI platform that just does violate those rules.
Yeah.
And I just think like we can hold back, and I encourage that. I'm very pro regulation. But I think ultimately, saddle up.
It's the same thing. It's like you're fighting a losing battle. You're using the wrong weapons.
That's like anything any legislative regulation is going to be so far behind the technology. Because like you saw when, I don't know what congressional hearing, what it was about, but they're like asking the heads of Meta how they make money. And it's like,
right, they don't even know that
these are the people we're expecting to regulate these platforms that only the most sophisticated people have an understanding of. I mean, that's a bit of a digression, but I think that like, it makes me feel uncomfortable. Yeah. Like I want to protect what I have. Like just like Disney wants to protect their characters, and you know, South Park probably wants to protect their characters, and Nickelodeon wants to protect SpongeBob from being on there getting arrested for, you know, stealing from Walmart. I saw that on SoHo today. And I think they should want that, and they should fight to keep their shit off of there if they're not being compensated for it. But I think in the end, we're going to get trounced.
Yeah.
Can we order?
Yeah.
Okay, can we have 2 rice with boiled chicken, white meat, and roast pork?
Roast pork and chicken, white meat, 2 order.
Yeah, and 1 sweet crawler.
Okay.
2 Diet Cokes.
This is sort of a nihilistic view. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, and I don't know
matters.
I'm just a realist, which is what I think is the case.
Yeah.
I don't see how.
So should these guys just give up? I mean, it's just like, hey, actually, let's just find the way to work together and enable you.
I think it's just about sort of I think it's like retail in 1996 being like, well, everything's going to shift to online. What do we do? And that took decades to be realized. Thank you. And we saw retail ultimately get annihilated, but it was a much slower process. I think the nature of what AI is doing is going to be a much, much, much faster process.
Like, in this case, man, maybe you want to be the first one. You want to be the first merchant on Amazon.
Maybe. I mean, I think that thinking is a little bit literal, but I think that, you know, to be optimistic about it, I think it's going to present an entirely new, a whole generation of opportunity.
Yeah.
The way that YouTube, the opportunity that YouTube presented was enormous. And because of that, there are millions of creators around the world that are able to make a living by creating. And like, that was sort of unfathomable in the media landscape of the 90s. And that's a beautiful, awesome thing. And I hope, you know, a decade from now, we're looking at AI saying the same thing. I just don't know what that might be or what that might look like.
So you don't really care, not that you don't care, but you're just sort of, you're saying it is what it is. For somebody that maybe does really care and is like, this is fucked up, they shouldn't be able to use my work, can that person use AI? Is it hypocritical of that person to use AI if they're like, my content shouldn't be a part of it?
I don't know. Look, MrBeast put out I don't know if it's a tweet or a comment or an interview, but he was talking about it, and he thinks like this is going to be a real threat to creators. And when I look at just the vast empire that he built and how incredible it is, and I know from personal experience, and you can see it in every movie, every video that he makes, you can see it in his Amazon show, his work succeeds because of the amount of effort and energy and resources they put into creating that content.
For sure. It's a major production.
And it's incredible what he's been able to do, but it came on the back of his hard work and his teams, his hundreds of people. They work, they bust their ass to create that brilliant content. What happens when that can be replaced with a prompt? What does it mean for someone like him?
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you.
More ginger, Scarlett?
Yeah, more ginger. I'm just a guy.
Thank you.
Who gives a shit about me? But like when I look at an operation like his, you know, he's built an empire on the platform. How do you defend that? I think that's a much more compelling case study, and perhaps like a scarier, you know?
I'm talking about using it as a tool.
He does.
He does.
I'm not anti.
Does he?
I'm not anti-AI broadly. I don't personally, for my videos, I don't like to use AI. If that means anti-AI, then in that capacity, sure. But I'm pro. Like, I'm excited about where things are going to go. It's a little scary, but I'm excited about where things are going to go. And I think Jimmy does use, I know he uses a lot of computer generated footage in his videos. Maybe he uses some AI. I think there's a place for that. But his using or not using is not going to make the difference in the battle for attention when there's, you know, thousands or an infinite amount, when there's an agent that does nothing all day but writes MrBeast script prompts into a generator and is flooding the zone with videos that look like his, feel like his. And then you got 8-year-olds around the world that don't know what's his and what's generated by that agent. And all of a sudden, everything gets lost in the wash.
So let's talk about this. This is actually one of the main things I wanted to talk about. So AI is going to flood the zone.
Yeah.
It's already happening.
This food is so good.
Yeah. Are you supposed to eat it a certain way? Or?
No, you just sort of.
Okay. What do you put this on? This ginger stuff?
Everything.
Okay.
But it's pungent.
Okay.
It's pungent.
So AI is going to flood the zone.
Yeah.
There's going to be infinite content. It's going to be cranking out all the time. It's going to go through this funnel that we talked about. And as we already know, TikTok and Reels, they're really good at programming that thing to keep your attention.
Yep.
If they have infinite content, then they're going to be even better, right? Like, they're going to be able to hold your attention indefinitely. I know you have a problem with this. I have a problem with the idea of just being totally glued to our phones at all times, especially our kids. Like, we're just handing over more and more of our attention and our agency to these devices. You did a really great video recently about kind of the next platform shift. I think you called it like the $1 trillion opportunity. Is there any future from one of those outcomes where we may go in the other direction and we may like unhook ourselves from the device?
Yeah. I saw a study recently. It said that AI, it's so good, right?
Oh my God.
It said that phone usage peaked in like 2022.
Really?
And it's been slightly on the decline since then. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. And it's a nominal amount, but the point is like, it's no longer up and to the right.
Is that just, maybe there was a COVID bump?
Oh, that could be it. That
Yeah.
could be it. But even so, take that and then look at other sort of market indicators like the resurgence of older technology.
Yeah.
The fact
we talked
that,
about vinyl.
The fact that we talked about vinyl, but the fact that Canon is reissuing a point and shoot from 15 years ago.
Are they?
Yeah. And it's not a great camera, but you know, kids, Gen Alpha, younger Gen Z, they all carry point and shoots. I used to buy these cameras off of eBay to make content with them. You can't find them anymore. Like they're all used up, and Canon is reissuing one. And that's sort of a tacit admission that this is not a new camera. Canon is shipping a camera in 2025 that charges with micro USB. And it's just because there's this appetite for older technology. I think there's this sort of atrophy of this monolithic device that does everything, and people want something tangible. People want wired headphones now. People want point and shoot cameras now. People want to listen to vinyl now. And I think to young people who grew up watching their parents, you know, look at foxnews.com for 11 hours a day, staring at a phone from their recliner, and they're like, I don't want to be that. And their interests, they're going to start looking back, and they're going to look for, you know, the relationships that you get to have with technology. You know, I work with Mod Retro a little bit, and like the success of the Chromatic, which is their Game Boy device. You can buy a Game Boy looking device off of Amazon that comes pre-installed with 1,000 games on it with a high resolution, or for 3 times the price, you can buy it from Mod Retro. And it does none of that shit. You have to physically put in a game cartridge. You have to use it the way we used it in the late 80s when it came out.
It's awesome.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's incredible.
And what you find is your relationship with the technology, when it's single purpose, is different. It's the reason why my kids are allowed to use the Mod Retro Chromatic, the Game Boy. They're not allowed to use an iPad. And I think it has to do with focus, it has to do with concentration, it has to do with your physical relationship with that device. So your original question was like, as we reach sort of peak flooding of the zone, will we see maybe a defection or a desire to get away?
Is there a hope?
It?
Especially,
I think there's a lot of reasons to be optimistic.
These 2 outcomes you talked about. You talked about Apple. We don't know what that is yet. And then you talked about Meta with the glasses.
Yeah, so the specific through line was that, like, I think we've reached like peak phone, and the fact that, you know, phones have come to sort of dominate our lives. And I think that we've crossed this precipice where the phones bring us less benefit than they do detriment. I think the benefit kept going up, and then like social media in the early 2010s, and the benefits started to inch down, and now the damage that they're doing outweighs the benefits that they're bringing. I think the solution, the solve, the fix for that in the long is going to be through innovation. And the specific hardware innovation that I point to is wearables. I think is where most people think it's going. I think it's what Johnny Ive's working on right now with Sam Altman. I think that's what Apple was sort of ebbing at with Vision Pro. I think that's what Meta's been doing very much so with their Ray-Ban. I think that's what Humane was attempting with their AI pin. I think that's what maybe Google was looking towards a dozen years ago with Google Glass. I think Apple Watch, maybe that might have been a consideration, but I think it sort of found its footing as an accessory to the phone, not an evolution of the phone. But I think that as we start to see these fragmented operating systems where you're going in and out of apps, AI will start to replace all of that, where you sort of have a singular input on your mobile computing device that executes whatever you want it to execute. That the need for all the utility that comes with this little mini widescreen TV in your pocket will be supplanted by some evolution in hardware.
One of the cool things about having this conversation with you is
how hard it is to eat our food and have this conversation.
Well, I'm loving my food. You're just doing all the talking. I'm doing all the eating. This is obviously a thing that everyone is thinking about right now. Every time I look at my phone, it's almost, you can almost feel it at this point. You've been thinking about this for a really long time.
Yeah,
I think this is what Beme was all about. Your product, right? Your startup from almost 10 years ago. I mean, for people who don't know what this thing is you had an app that let you film by going like this with your camera, right? Yeah. And the whole idea, if I understand it correctly, was you're not looking at your phone. You're looking at the subject. Your attention is here, not here. You've been thinking about this for like longer than anyone. Yeah. Was that the inspiration even back then?
Yeah, Beme back in the day was originally a Google Glass product.
Oh, was it? I didn't know that.
Yeah. We rewrote the firmware on a Google Glass. So when you would push the button on the top, it would capture 10 seconds of what you're seeing and immediately post it to a feed. And then we got away from the glass because they shut that down and we went to a phone. But somebody just tweeted at me, when Casey launched Beams, it was such an innocent time. And I think back to that, and it was like, yeah, like the impetus for wanting to build that product was This was when you first could put filters on cameras, on your photos rather. And there was a real lack of realness in social. So like, what would be the most real version? It was called Beme, but it started out as like Beme. Yeah. Like, how do you show people how to be you? And the altruistic mission statement was something like, you know, promote empathy by sharing perspective. And the idea was that like you could go through this app and just hold down on all these cells and you'd see the world from all these people's different eyes, which is so far from where we've landed, which instead of seeing the raw world through other people's perspectives, you're seeing this polished, artificial version of the world through so much of what people post. And now you're seeing a literal artificial version of that with Sora.
I thought it was really interesting how when you go into Sora for the first time, it makes a point to tell you that. You know what I'm talking about?
No, what does it say?
The first time you launch Sora, when you onboard,
yeah,
there's a screen and there's text on it, and it says something like, everything you're about to see is generated, is not real. You may think it is, but it's not, or something like that.
When did you get the app?
I got it the day of launch, just like everyone else.
I must have
when you do it's a quick thing. You know, I can imagine you just hitting a next button and blowing past it. But there's a message. It's like, everything you're about to experience is not real. I'm guessing they did that mostly as a disclaimer, because it's basically going to be filled with deepfakes once you move past that. But there's also like a little bit of a mission statement in that, right? And again,
it's an acknowledgement.
Exactly. And it's kind of the opposite of this idea of Beme and experiencing the world through other people's eyes.
Whether it's Sora or TikTok, I think we're really close to there being a product where as you're scrolling, it's figuring out your interests and it's optimizing an algorithm for you in real time. And then as quickly as you're scrolling, it's creating the videos that it's feeding you. And it gets very close to dead internet. At least on one side, it's dead internet because no one's creating. It's both the algorithm acknowledging, figuring out what you're interested in, and then the AI actually creating that kind of thing. I kind of screwed up. I forgot to. This is a donut.
Read that first or second?
It's a nightmare, and you're going to get so much grease on your fingers. But what you do with this donut, and I only learned this by watching other people, you take the donut and you drop it in.
Okay.
And the salty,
break it up?
Yeah. And the saltiness of the food complemented with this donut. You see this?
Yeah. That's what the napkins are for.
Yeah, you could grease a 8-cylinder truck engine with this. That is the magic of this dish. Not that it's not magical without it.
I mean, it was still delicious. I actually didn't even know I had a fork. Oh, maybe
it's just an option, but this is difficult food with chopsticks.
Do you miss being a founder? Did you like being a founder? Was that fun for you?
Yeah, it's one of those things that's like, if I knew that then what I know now, I would have never done it. But I'm so glad to have been there. And when I talk to people who think they know business or know the startup world, but they've never been a founder, it's a little bit like talking to somebody that wears camouflage but has never been in the military.
Well, the famous line is when people are like, oh, it's like a startup within a big company. You know, they were like, I'm like on a new team. It's a startup within a big company. I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't think you really know what it's like.
Yeah, until you can appreciate the anguish of not knowing how to make payroll next week. You don't know. And, you know, for you and I, we both started software development companies, but like my dad had a coffee shop. Same. It is the same emotional. You're trying to find a product market fit for something that works enough to build a profitable enterprise and keep people employed, managing staff, managing people. The technology part of it was fantastically exciting to me. When I think back to working with Matt Hackett, who was my co-founder, that relationship I learned more from than anything else in the entire experience. Team building, management, running the company, finding a fit for it, finding a home for it, you know, prior to our acquisition, all of that. I wouldn't trade any of that for the world. But I was in my early 30s and just starting a family, and now I'm in my early 40s and I got a grow, like, you know, 2 kids and a wife, and like, yeah, trying to imagine being in that place now is really hard. I don't know, as I was saying to you earlier, my kids are getting old, they're growing up, and like, there's a little bit of an itch I can feel coming back.
Yeah. And you would know a lot more this time around. There's so many things you would do differently.
That might be a virtue and that might be a liability, you know?
Yeah.
I think the fearlessness of being a first-time founder is, you know, often leads to successes that had you known what you were doing, you might not have done things that way. You might have taken a more cautious approach.
What was the exit like?
Tricky. It was hard. You know, we were acquired by Turner, CNN specifically, and you know, I think that, to be simplistic, I saw it as an opportunity to work within CNN and build amazing technology for CNN. You know, they had a basic app. And I thought we could build really cool stuff. Like, we built a product for the election 2016 called Exit Polls.
Yeah, I remember that.
And it wasn't an exit poll quantifier. All it was right after you vote, you post a video picking Democrat, Republican, other, and then who you make a 5-second video saying who you voted for. And then we would display it to you in that order. Like, you know, blue, red, other, blue, red, other. So it wasn't about quantity. It was about so you can see who the voters were. In 20 minutes after the polls opened, in November of 2016, I was like, Trump's going to win today. And it was just because you would see the voters and the voters would be like, I voted for Senator Clinton because I don't know, I've always been, and then you see the Trump voter and be like, he's going to change the world. Like and it was like, whoa. I didn't have exposure to these voters in my day-to-day life. And we built a product that gave you access to real people. In any event, that's what was exciting about the acquisition for me. The opportunity to build that sort of technology for CNN. I think a real misalignment came from the fact that I have no doubt that they had those similar interests, but mostly they were interested in me, in my media reach, and what I could do in bringing my audience to their, and that was
like a talent deal?
It wasn't a talent deal. It was strictly
But you're saying like that's
clearly like they had a greater interest in that than my naive. You know, I should have been more cognizant of that.
But your team went over. They got jobs, right?
Everybody got over. Yeah, I think it was successful all around.
Yeah.
There were a couple of shitty situations with a couple of people that made me sad, like people that we had brought on last minute that, you know, post-acquisition that we brought in, and then when they moved the company internal, that they got let go, and it was out of my hands then. And this is all that, like, founder bullshit that you just, like, the interpersonal stuff. This is part of the reason why my singular goal when I came back to New York City was to have 0 employees. I take out my own trash, I mop my own floors. The exhaustion of dealing with management and personnel and HR is so hard that I don't want it. I don't want it anymore. And right now, like, I'm by myself all the time, and it's a very centering thing because I got my ass kicked.
That stuff consumes you.
I'm a terrible manager. It's terrible.
Hard. I had a huge team under me at Spotify, and like you realize after a certain amount of time that actually you spend like 95% of your day dealing with that.
Yeah.
Not building, not innovating, not, you know, exploring your creativity.
And I recognize I'm not good at that.
Yeah.
And it's a waste of, you know, what makes my skill set special. And it's an ineffective way to build a company.
Did you get a feel for CNN as a company, as an organization, or were you not there long enough to really?
You know, we were kept. By the way, don't be shy.
Yeah. You're right. It's very. What was the word you used? Pungent.
It's pungent.
Yeah, it's very pungent.
Our organization was kept external from CNN as part of the deal.
You were never in their office.
I had a pass. I'd go there for lunch. But I spent very little time inside there. But I liked everybody that I met. Like, you know, I didn't thrive. I did not succeed post-acquisition inside of CNN. But I don't think that was because of CNN. I think that was because of me. Like, the people we worked with were really fantastic. Andrew Morse was sort of the head of the division that was operating our company. Like, brilliant guy. And really smart people inside the organization. I just think it was a real misalignment for me personally, and that led to much of the internal strife of, you know, like we were operating a $3 million a year kind of budget, maybe less than that, $2.5 million a year as a startup. First year with CNN, we had a $20 million budget. And having to 10x what you spend means you're spending all your resources bringing people in, bringing new teams on, instead of sort of organically growing. So when I say that, like, the deficiencies in the company were all on me, not CNN, I don't know how to do that.
Right.
That's not a strong suit of mine.
Nor do you want to, or
sure, but like
yeah.
I fail at that,
yeah.
and that was really hard for me. Like, leave me alone with a small team, and we can move mountains. But the minute we have to scale something that rapidly, it was outside of my wheelhouse of understanding of to do that. And even with the fantastic management skills of Matt and the people CNN gave us, the battle had a lot more to do with taking what was something that worked as a startup and making it work within a big organization. This is a story that I've read about. I've had this conversation a million times with a million founders, and they've all said the same words I'm using right now.
Yeah.
We became the cliche.
Yep. Do you think a company like CNN can survive AI? Like, what do you do if you're CNN? Not even them, not to single them out. Like, big media company already struggling from the transition to the internet.
I don't know, but I think that the areas that I think are going to thrive because of AI are live sports. And I think news media has the potential to be an extension of that. You want to hear perspective from real people. Mm-hmm. When I'm watching sports, I want to see real athletes.
Yep.
So it's very hard to see where or how AI, those intrinsically human things. And I think news media is going to be a part of that. I think that their challenge is going to be much closer to, competing with independent journalists, the way we've seen people like
people on X or
Tucker
TikTok.
Carlson or Megyn Kelly, or the ones I think of are further to the right of politics. I don't know, even Barry Weiss, what she did, but she's a little bit more to the center.
Although ironically now, back at a traditional media organization.
Sure, but the reason why she's back there is because they recognize that she was able to build. So I think that the challenges that news media are going to face are going to come from real innovators. I don't think it's going to come. The challenges are going to come from
within.
AI. Yeah,
from within.
Yeah.
Back to the device thing, and again the Beme journey, and you thinking about this attention problem. We talked about Apple. We talked about Meta. Yeah, you mentioned OpenAI is working on a thing. Like, is this the moment where a new challenger can emerge? Can a new device, a new company come in?
I think there's I refer to my video as the magical AI device of the future, which again is what I think Meta's could be, or I think it's what Apple Vision Pro is starting to poke at. I think it's what that AI pin was thinking. I don't know that an incumbent has the ability to really fight in that race. Because the R&D expenses, I saw Meta leadership talking about the tens of billions they've spent. You've heard the same thing from Apple about how much they're spending on R&D. Altman gave, $6.5 billion to Johnny Ives to get his company on board. It's hard to imagine. I think even Humane, they had a hell of a war chest, $200 million, but their first product didn't work and they're out of cash. So it's hard to imagine an incumbent winning in that space. But I think that where the opportunities are going to be are in sort of more niche spaces. I bring back mod retro. I bring back Canon, reintroducing this camera. I think that because there's such an exhaustion towards what mobile phones are today and what mobile computing is today, that there's a multitude of opportunities to sort of embrace the niche and give people the opportunity to own something that just doesn't look like another black rectangle. And I think that, old school iPods are making a comeback.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. I think that I know I'm sick of my phone. I was talking to my friend Max. He's brilliant, but he's like, when I open my phone, I just want to do one thing. But because it does all these things, I get lost on my way to that one. And I was like, yeah, dude, I wish I had a Walkman again. I want to start carrying a Walkman.
But is this, we talked about vinyl earlier and how it's doing better than ever, but it's still 1% or maybe less than 1%. Is that what you think this is going to be? Yeah, there's going to be some device. And it's going to feel pure and focused on the stuff that matters. But you and I are going to use it and nobody else.
I don't know the answer to that. Yeah. I think it's a tremendously overlooked. Wall Street Journal this week wrote an article saying I don't know what the title is. Everything old is new again, something like that. But it was about how young people have this affinity for older tech. And I think it's less of a retro thing, and it has a lot more to do with just their not being satisfied with this rectangular piece of glass in their pocket that does everything. They want single-purpose devices. The floodgates of that space are gonna break open. I know I do.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely want
I
it.
think it's interesting. That's what I love about the Meta
I
Ray-Ban
buy all this
glasses.
stuff. Yeah, like I bought Mod Retro as soon as I could.
The Meta Ray-Ban glasses are like a phone camera that I don't have to use my phone for.
Yeah, but isn't that the opposite? Like your device just keeps getting closer and closer to your brain.
Sure, but I think the only way out is innovation, and I think that's what it is today. It's just a camera in your glasses. But I think what it could be is, you know, get AI right, get an AI operating system correctly, and that's how you interact with your device, which I think there's an argument to say that that's better than having your head hunched forward, staring at these distraction machines all day. There's a much greater emphasis put on intentionality when you say, like, I don't know, with the interaction, it's like boop or like boop, text Mike back, I'll be 10 minutes late, I'm getting more pork, versus like, let me just check Instagram, you know.
Yes, I agree with that. I also think about somebody's having a conversation. We're sitting here having lunch and you're talking to me and you don't know, but I'm actually like watching a YouTube video on my glasses right now.
It's dark.
Because that's totally going to happen.
Oh, yeah. I haven't gotten my hands on the Meta Ray-Ban displays yet. I'm dying to, but I tried out their Orion prototypes last year.
Isn't that the same one? Is it? No. It's not?
The Orion is full AR. And the displays are a singular, monocular, fixed display.
Okay.
But they're essentially sunglasses. They look like sunglasses. But you have a full AR spectrum in front of your eyes. And when you're in the room and somebody else is using them, you're staring at somebody who has dead eyes. It's very sort of post-apocalyptic. And like, we're sitting here like this and my eyes are just glazed over. And you're like, Casey, what are you looking at? It's like I'm playing a 3D game of
that was like the Apple Vision Pro?
Yeah.
Remember you would talk to somebody on FaceTime in Apple Vision Pro? And they would have, it's so creepy, man. It just has this weird sort of like zombie face of the person.
That's my negative on Apple Vision Pro. Like, that's my takeaway from it. It's just like, except for niche cases, like video, like gaming.
Yeah.
Or some of the cool shit they've done around like aeronautics.
Yeah.
Maybe even medical. Outside of that, like, when is it ever socially acceptable to have this thing on your face? Even like on airplanes watching movies, which they promoted. When you're on a plane, it's only happening like twice, and you see somebody on the thing, you're like, fucking weirdo. You know what I mean? It's weird.
Super weird.
Mm-hmm.
This was excellent.
Okay. He knows it's excellent.
He knows it. He's like, you don't have to tell me this. I'm glad you picked this place. I feel like very New York. This is actually something I want to talk to you about. So you mentioned at the beginning of the video, New York is your muse. We talked about how maybe you couldn't have even done what you've done without New York. And when I think of a great example of that, I think of something like, there's a video my friend Samil and I always talk about of yours, which is the snowboarding with the NYPD.
Great video.
Classic. You only could have done that in New York. It wouldn't have been as special if you weren't in Times Square. And because you did it, that's what made it so special. It's like, oh my God, Casey is willing to attach his snowboard to a New York City Police Department car and carve up the streets of Times Square. In an AI world, like, that video is just not going to be that special anymore.
That's right. That's right. And that's where it gets...
That kills me.
That's where it gets interesting. And like, when AI is so good, which is like a week from now, that you can't tell.
I can just say that. Put me on a snowboard in Times Square.
So then to see someone do it for real, does it still matter?
Right.
And I think the short-term answer would be like, yeah, because you can tell, bro. Okay, but you're not going to be able to tell at some point. I think sooner than later, you're not going to be able to tell. So does it still matter? That's what I'm worried about.
Yeah. I mean, I'm glad you're already there.
I hope I'm
glad you're already there.
I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah.
That's as hopeful as I can possibly get.
Yeah. What is this called?
So good.
What is this called? What did you say to him? I didn't even understand what you said to him.
I think this is probably on the menu, but I just describe it. I'd say the rice with white chicken.
Oh, right.
And roast pork.
Okay. And what's that?
That's a sweet cruller.
Sweet crella?
Cruller.
Creller.
Cruller.
Okay.
Did you try it with
Yeah!
Pretty amazing, isn't it?
So you take the kids here, you said, right?
All the time.
Your kids mess with AI?
They're not allowed to.
Yeah, mine either.
In fact, like, keeping my kids away from technology is one of the hardest, and like, it's one of the few parenting things that my wife and I see entirely eye to eye on.
Us too. Like, I don't know about you guys, we don't do the iPads in restaurants or anything like that. I feel like for somebody who like lives and works in technology, I feel very, very conservative when it comes to technology at home. I feel a little bit hypocritical about it.
I think we're gonna like look back at this time and be like, I cannot believe that people let their kids use the internet and use tech the way that kids use tech today because of how just outrageous and absolute and like demonstrably dangerous. God, how demonstrably dangerous.
Yeah, no, I feel the
tech
same
is.
way. But I feel like an outcast sometimes, right? Like when the kids play together with their friends, you know, the friend is glued to an iPad, and I'm like, oh, no, like, you shouldn't be using that.
How old is your oldest?
8. She's just about to turn 9.
Does she know anybody that has a phone yet?
I know of one kid.
We have
in her
one
grade.
kid too, and it's like insane.
Yeah.
To give a kid an iPhone is like, why not just give him a pack of cigarettes?
Do you, like, when you think about your kids growing up, obviously you've still got a few years, and you think about AI, or like, does it shape the way you want, does it shape the way you think about what you want your kids to work on and like to care about?
It makes me think that like everything that they're learning in school right now and the way they're being taught, they're going to be the last generation that learns this way.
Yeah.
Because when it comes to education, it's such a one-size-fits-all process. And I think that what AI will enable is a much more like teach to the kids' strengths method of teaching traditional academics.
Yeah.
And you're already seeing that in some areas, but I think that that's going to grow in a way quickly and in a way that's super, super accessible.
Yeah, I majored in computer science, which was not cool back then. But like, if my kid was going to college now, I wouldn't know what to tell them to.
No, I'm encouraging my daughters to be electricians and plumbers.
Yeah, I think that's kind of smart. At the very least, you want to teach your kid to be personable and charismatic and like a leader of people.
That's a given, but like
But I don't even know how you teach that, right?
The only bankable skill sets that I can think of right now are ones that involve your hands. Like, I want my kids to learn how to weld and, build diesel engines. I think I'm going to lose that battle, but yeah, I would love my daughters to learn a trade that has intrinsic value.
Would you want them to go to college?
No. I'll probably lose that fight too, but no.
Okay, well,
But my issues with higher education are more political than
I think we've all got issues with that. But I guess what I mean more like as your kids are thinking about the next chapter of their lives when they're maybe when they're late teenagers, like, what do you encourage them to do?
I think it's more confusing now than it could ever be.
I wouldn't even know what to tell them.
I think maybe there'll be some clarity in that in, 5-10 years.
I have nephews that are in college, and I remember like 5 years ago, I was like, oh, you have to major in computer science. You have to.
Yeah.
And now I wouldn't even say that.
No, if your strength now is coding, what role do you play?
Yeah, I don't know.
Who won, by the way?
I don't know. I have no screen.
I beat you. I had 7, you had 6.
What? Oh my God. All
Just by an inch.
That was fun.
Yeah, that place it's like, there's still quite a few because it's New York, but there's not enough of those places around,
No. Yeah. If I was with my kids, we'd be just trying to collect tickets.
That's all we do. That's all my girls and I do in there.
Okay, so we talked a little bit about what you would do with your kids if they were going out into the world. I think about your story and kind of like where you started. If you were landing in New York City right now, you wanted to be a creator, you wanted to be a YouTuber, what would you be trying to learn right now? If it was 2025, not when it was...
I think that, specifically within the media tech realm.
Yeah.
I don't know that I have an answer, but I think that there's going to be so much opportunity in the media landscape within AI.
Yeah.
I think that whenever anybody's pushing back or scared that AI is going to destroy an industry the way I am, I just see nothing but opportunity there.
The guys that all hang out in your building, like, what are they working on? What are they doing? Like the young guys that are,
I think that they are all working on what they've been working on.
Yeah.
Most of them, a lot of them are content creators. Some of them are in the tech space.
Yeah.
When Sora came out, they're all excited about it. There was a little bit of like an oh shit moment, but I think they're all excited about like, the new opportunities that this stuff could bring in.
And trying to figure out what to do with it and how to incorporate it into what they're doing.
Yeah, look, and that was the case when I downloaded TikTok 5 years ago.
Or when you downloaded Vine 10 years ago.
Shit, what can I do in 7 seconds?
Right.
I think there's always an expected apprehension to any sort of new technology at first, and then when it starts to yield opportunity and yield interestingness, and people run towards it.
If you had unlimited money, unlimited time, no distractions, what would you be working on right now?
I mean, nothing. If I had all that, I would just have like 100 kids, and then I would adopt, and I would buy a huge farm, and I would just be there with like my 25 children and my 100 dogs, and that's what I would do.
You want to be like properly retired?
No, I'm not interested in retiring, but you said if I had unlimited money.
All right, so you just aspire to be a parent.
There's nothing I've ever done that I like as much as, I think purpose is a really under indexed aspect of like people talk about happiness and success, and I see all of those as abstractions. I think that like purpose is the thing. There's a story, and it's like, I'm probably fucking this up, but it's something like the very worst shell shock, we call now PTSD, but shell shock soldiers from World War I that were hospitalized and largely comatose. When World War II came 20 years later in England, and they needed drivers, they needed people to work domestically that couldn't fight in the war, they went to these like almost comatose soldiers, and they said, we have a job for you. And for the first time since they had left the war, they had a purpose. And that purpose was enough to like give them their lives back. And I think purpose is at the core of everything. And I think that a lot of purpose comes from careers, for sure. But for me, like, purpose has come from being a parent. And my career is an extension of that. Everything I've done is an extension of that. But at its core is being a dad.
Well, maybe then the most optimistic and the most utopian thing that can come out of all the scary shit we talked about in this episode is actually that we all get enough time back to focus on our true purposes. I mean, that would be pretty awesome.
Yeah, I feel like, what's that maxim? It's like, I don't know what World War III will be fought with, but World War IV will be fought with sticks and stones.
I never heard that, but...
Okay, so it's like, I don't know what the next wave of tech's going to look like, but the wave after that is going to be like us building pyramids out of rocks again.
You know what?
And maybe we could just get there as soon as possible.
That's a Hallmark card.
It's just on a farm with dogs and kids where we have to like pump our own water out of the well.
Well, here's that. Let's hope that we can all end up on farms one day.
Dude, thanks for having me.
Thanks.
This is really fun.
We did. Hold on. We did a bad shake there. Hold on.
You have to put the bad shake in there now.
Thank you so much for watching or listening. If you're one of the few people out there that doesn't already subscribe to Casey Neistat, make sure you go follow him on YouTube. And of course, follow and subscribe this new channel. We'd really appreciate it. It will help the show grow. If you want to learn more about Lightspeed, you can find us at Lightspeed VP on X, LinkedIn, every other platform. And if you want to follow me, I'm at Mignano on all those same platforms. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you at the next one.